guys, so I have been wanting to do this for a while, and I'm finally sitting down and talking about our experience with finding out Charly was deaf, how we navigated our decisions after that, why we decided cochlear implants, and kind of some helpful tips for other parents who have cochlear implants or might find themselves in this position. So yeah, the first video, I thought the best place to start is finding out that Charlotte was deaf and what those experiences and emotions were like leading up to it and shortly thereafter. I get a lot of messages daily from parents who have just found out that their kiddo is deaf. And, you know, I feel for them because I know what they're feeling. And by the time that they see my page now, it's such a blessing that they see like just nothing but positivity and just how Charlotte is thriving and just where it looks like now. But I have to message them directly and personally and let them know that it wasn't necessarily that way the day that we found out Charlotte was deaf. And it's okay if you're feeling a range of emotions. And I just want to be really honest with how we felt and how we handled it, so that if other parents maybe are feeling the similar way, they know that it's normal and it's okay. And then they can look at my Instagram and look at where we're at now and see like it is going to be okay. Like there's so many amazing success stories, and I have gotten to speak to so many wonderful families and kiddos and adults who are deaf, and it's just such an incredible experience. And I can't really say enough about how life-changing this has all been in the most amazing way. So she was born, everything was quite normal, beautiful, perfect little, she was tiny, she was like 5 pounds, 6 ounces. She was so sweet and petite, and just pure bliss from the very first moment that she was born. And 24 hours of life, they took her to go do her hearing screen. And when they brought her back, they let me know that she had failed and that is common. Not all babies are going to pass the hearing screen right away, and that it was most likely fluid. I didn't think anything of it. I'm a NICU nurse, and I did postpartum before I did NICU nursing, so I can't tell you how many times that I've had babies who failed a hearing screen, and every single time I told parents, don't worry, it's probably fluid. I didn't think anything of it. I thought it was just fluid. And the next day they did another one before we left the hospital. She failed again. Again, they said not to worry. And they scheduled another audiogram for after we were out of the hospital. So I think it was at maybe 1 week of life. Same thing, just a hearing screen. We went in there, she failed. And so that's when they set us up for our ABR test, which is the formal diagnostic hearing screen at 1 month of life. At no point did I feel really prepared for any other diagnosis, so I wasn't worried at all going into the ABR test. I had not done any research on hearing loss, wasn't given any like resources for it before that point. So at the ABR exam, it was just me and Charlotte. I didn't have my husband come because I really didn't think anything of it. I didn't think that it was going to be a big deal at all. And I held her. I had just nursed her. I held her. She was nice and quiet. They put on the electrodes onto her head. She had a couple different ones all over. And they did the hearing screen. Still kind of not thinking anything of it. But at one point, the audiologist left the room to go get somebody else. And I don't know why, like that's like the moment I knew. I was like, okay, maybe there's like something not right. Like, but probably not. Certainly not that she was deaf. That was still not crossing my mind. And when she came back in, I just said, are you guys able to see anything yet before you finish the exam? And she said, yes, the exam's already very telling. It is showing that she has a bilateral sensorineural profound hearing loss. Sensorineural profound hearing loss, like I had no idea what that meant. So I just straight up asked her, what does that mean? Is she deaf? And she said, yes, she's completely deaf. And I just broke down and cried. And also I get emotional thinking about it now, just the emotions hitting me again. But I just wasn't prepared for it. And I think the biggest thing, again, which a lot of, I think, mothers and fathers can relate to, is I was just like, oh my gosh, she's like never heard me say I love you. And what does this mean for our life? I remember one of my first thoughts being, oh wow, we're probably not going to be able to have any more kids after this because this is going to take so much time and attention, or I don't really know what I was thinking, which by the way, I'm like pregnant right now, 13 weeks with our third baby. So obviously that has not been a concern of mine since that day. But I was just devastated. I was not prepared. That was the biggest part of it, I think. And I had never met a deaf person in my life. Didn't know anything about options. I only knew about American Sign Language. And really the only thing I knew is that I needed to get in the car and I needed to call my husband, and he needed to come home immediately because I needed help processing. He was going to need help processing, and we needed to figure out like what the future would look like. Yeah, he wasn't prepared either, but I just told him. So the test it wasn't good. Like, she's completely deaf. And I could just hear the shock on the other side of the phone. So he came home and we just honestly cried. Like, we were sad for her and her, like, what her life would look like. We didn't know, like, anything. We never met a deaf person, so we didn't know, like, how capable they were, what school looks like, anything. We didn't know anything. So we just, in sheer just not knowing, we just cried and we're sad for her. We were sad for us. Like, we're obsessed with her. We love her so much. And nothing changed in our feelings for her in that moment. It just, you have expectations, I guess, as a parent. And anytime anything goes differently than your expectations, I don't care who you are, you have to process it. You have to deal with it. And so that's where we were at that moment. Just processing a lot of feelings, and then realizing we had a lot of work to do, a lot to learn. And yeah, we got right to it. We got home, hugged each other, just like kept looking at her and just like loving on her. And when she fell asleep, we were like straight to WebMD and Google and YouTube. And we had never heard of any options. Like, we just figured she's deaf, we'll do ASL, there's no other options. I had never heard of a cochlear implant until that day when we went on YouTube, and it was two little boys playing on a playground, and they were so cute, and they were just talking like any other little 5-year-old boy on the playground. Like, their speech was beautiful. They were showing their implant and taking off the magnet and explaining how it worked. And I was amazed. I was like, this exists? Like, this amazing medical technology exists? And these little boys are hearing and speaking and living this completely normal life. Like, I was amazed. And for us, we knew from the very first second that she was deaf, we were going to do sign language. We wanted her to have access to American Sign Language, and we wanted her to have a strong deaf identity no matter what. And we were super excited really to learn and to meet more people. But when we saw that we could also, in conjunction with that, do cochlear implants and that she could have the potential to develop beautiful speech and hearing, we were on board. For our family, that was a moment of peace, a moment of excitement, and just clarity for what the future would look like for us. You know, we were very, very hopeful. And being so public with our journey, I am very aware that not everybody is for cochlear implants. I know that it's a very controversial decision, but where I stand is it's whatever works for you and your family. If you decide to just not do cochlear implants and do sign language, that is amazing. If you decide just to do cochlear implants and speech and no sign language, that's amazing too. If you want to do total communication like us, that's amazing. There's so many options, and the most important thing that I always say, if you are giving your child love and language, you're doing a great job. So we were shamed for our decision, and I've never let something roll off my back any easier than that, because we're at peace with it. Like, we are really, really happy with our decision for her, and we oh my gosh, seeing her today, for her and for us, we've made the right decision. So anyhow, from there, things got, our perspective got a lot more positive because we spent so much time learning what being deaf meant, learning about hearing loss, learning about deaf culture, learning about our options. Like from there, it was kind of smooth sailing. So I think my biggest takeaway and where I would push for change and just where I think we could all make a difference is really preparing parents like at the start of that hearing screen. Hearing screens are for a reason. And I am so guilty myself of saying it's just fluid. But if I had had just any resource given to me to, hey, there is a chance that this could be a hearing loss and you should prepare yourself for that. And here's things to look at. When I got the diagnosis, it might have been a little bit easier to digest. But either way, that wasn't my experience, and it happened how it happened, and I'm actually kind of glad I got to experience all those emotions because I feel like it's putting me in such a good place to talk to other moms and dads who are there and they're feeling it. Like, we've been there, we know the range of emotion, and I can say we were feeling the lowest of the low and unprepared and didn't know, and now we are just so excited and thrilled and honored to be her parent and to be a part of this new community and culture that we didn't otherwise know existed. So if you're like just finding out and you're in the waves of where you're crying or just processing or feeling guilty, oh, I forgot to touch on that, the guilt. I felt so much guilt. I thought I had to have possibly done something in my pregnancy. Things that cross your mind as a mom for mom guilt when you deliver a baby who has a developmental or just any issues, like you blame yourself, and that's totally natural too. And I want you to know if you're feeling that, that's normal. And just please, like, I hope that leaves you as soon as possible because it's hard to process. We actually found out Charlotte's hearing loss is genetic. She has Pendred syndrome, so there is nothing I could have done to prevent it. And actually, it's pretty interesting. I passed on a Pendred gene. Obviously, we both had to pass it on. My husband passed on a Pendred gene, but one of us also passed on the connexin 26 gene, which is the most common non-syndrome form of hearing loss, sensorineural hearing loss. And then she also had 2 other hits that were related to hearing loss. So she is born exactly how she was supposed to be born. Like, that girl, she was gonna be deaf. And I'm just so proud to be her mom. And I know my husband's so proud to be her dad. And her sister have a normal, very normal sister relationship, but seeing them communicate and love each other and everyone learning sign language and seeing her speech start to develop, it's beautiful. So it's all gonna be okay. There's so many options. Whichever one you choose is great, but please, like, reach out to other parents who have been there. I'm always happy to be a resource. If you're on YouTube right now, Lucy and the Bump is a friend of mine who I found through, that was another video that I watched the day I found out Charlotte was deaf, and I reached out to her. She was super helpful. Her kiddo, he's probably 5 now, I want to say. I'm sorry, Lucy, I can't remember how old he is. Harry, he's so cute, and his speech is beautiful. He was just a huge source of inspiration for us, and for us to like see how life could be with cochlear implants with Charly. So definitely check her out. I just want to be able to be a resource for other parents that find themselves in the position. Come to my YouTube channel. I hope there's something here that'll help you, or at least make you feel completely normal and like you have a tribe and a place. And yeah, I'm excited. So please subscribe to the channel here. Drop me a comment, especially if you are a parent of a kiddo with hearing loss, or you are somebody with hearing loss, cochlear implants, ASL, whatever your story is. I love to hear those. Like, I just love to see, I just love to connect and see what life looks like for you, and like what life can look like for my little girl and our family. And it's a journey. We're still in the beginning. She's only been implanted for 6 months, and she's only 18 months old, and we have a lot to learn. Life can look a lot of different ways in that time. So yeah, I hope this is helpful, and thank you guys so much for tuning in.